Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are calling from today. The favorite thing that both we like to do here is to meet with our customers. And in today's session, you're going to learn how to modernize omnichannel routing with advanced work assignment. And this is part of our series live on ServiceNow webinars. My name is Harriet Franklin, and joining me today is Prithvi Yoganand. Before we get started, I just want to talk about the safe harbor notice. We're going to be showing you, perhaps talking about statements that can be forward-looking. Please don't base any decisions of what you see based on timelines or products that we show that may or may not make it into the product. As I said earlier, this is a series. Here's a QR code that you can click to join us for future webinars. We also have meetups where you can ask us questions based on webinars. Perhaps we can have a follow-up meetup on this particular topic. It's going to be jam-packed today. A little housekeeping. Please use the Q&A tab to ask your questions. Do not put them in chat. We're going to try to answer your questions all along the way, and there'll be a little time at the end for your questions. This presentation is going to be recorded, and it's going to be on the community, so feel free to post questions in the post on the community, and we can all carry on a dialogue. After this session, you will be prompted for a survey, and please, we would love to hear your feedback on what we can do better next time. As I said earlier, my name is Harriet Franklin, and I'm part of the outbound product management team for customer service management, specializing in the area of customer engagement. And joining me today is Prithvi Yoganand. And when Prithvi presents, he's going to give you a short bio of who he is and what area he specializes in. Okay, so before we get started, we have one poll question. And we just want to know, how are you routing and assigning the work for your agents? Is it currently a manual process where your agent selects from an inbox list? Is it manual where we have a supervisor or a manager that assigns to your team? Are you using our advanced work assignment? Or do you have a contact center as a service or CCaaS solution? Please put your feedback into the poll. We're going to give it a couple seconds where we can have everyone's feedback. Okay. Couple more seconds. We have a few more people. I see a manual assignment is one of the most primary way. Any others? Okay, good. All right, Aisha, we can end this poll and show the results. Okay. Looks like everyone is assigning them to team members manually. So this is going to be a great call for you because we have jam-packed information for you. All right. So today's agenda, for those of you that are assigning manually, I'm sure you're already aware of what the challenges are. We're going to walk through a couple challenges, highlight our key capabilities and components of advanced work assignment. Prithvi has a dynamite demonstration where he's going to show you how all these pieces work together. And then he's going to go over best practices. How do you get started? What's the strategy that you need to set in place? And then we'll follow up with a live Q&A. So let's get started. So when we think about service and the different people affected, we have different personas. The first persona is the customer. And when you have multiple channels, an omni-channel strategy, Customers want to communicate with your organization on any one of those channels. It needs to be consistent service. It needs to be quick. It needs to be easy. And customers want this resolved on the first time. If you're not using some sort of advanced work assignment or CCAS vendor, then this is a manual process. And it adds extra stress to agents because now they have to go and look for the work. They have to manually assign and prioritize. They're trying to be consistent across channels. And then sometimes that work gets distributed in a way that's kind of unfair. And then it's difficult to kind of route to the right agent because we can't route on experience. So it's very frustrating for agents. If, as we saw in the poll, a lot of these work items are assigned manually by a supervisor or a manager, managers are concerned about customer satisfaction, and they want to get the most effective work out of their agents and have happy agents. If they're spending their time manually doing these assignments, they'd rather spend their time on coaching the agents, working on more difficult escalations, and they just want to eliminate that whole process of where they're manually assigning the work. And so what happens is the customer experience is inconsistent. We see the customer having longer wait times. We see these items not being prioritized properly based on SLA. Oftentimes the customer is frustrated and calls back and gets a new person to try to resolve their issue. This results in, of course, low customer satisfaction. And then there's really no way to really identify and look at who the VIPs are and prioritize the VIPs. So all of these factors go into an inconsistent experience. But if you take that experience and multiply it times all your customers and all your agents, you can really see that this is a huge bottleneck in providing service to your customers. So how can you take all these issues and fix them, automate them, and provide better service? So here at ServiceNow, we have a capability called Advanced Work Assignment. And basically, this gives you the capability to configure and route the work coming in from customers to your agents based on skill, capacity, and availability. And before you set all this up, you're able to define the strategy. What channels do you want to set up? What queues do you want to set up? And then you can configure assignment rules. And really, this allows agents to manage their we can have agents manage their ability and their present state. And then just configure advanced features once this is set up with things such as Overflow or a better way to handle the customer experience with Agent Affinity. Setting all these things up will improve your call center metrics. It's going to increase your first call resolution, reduce the average handle time, and improve customer satisfaction. So with that, we've got a dynamite demonstration, and I'm going to introduce you to Prithvi. Prithvi, why don't you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Harriet. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Prithvi Yoganand, and I lead the omnichannel aspects of customer and industry workflows. Advanced Work Assignment is one of the products in my portfolio, and this is a topic that I'm really excited about. We launched Advanced Work Assignment a few years back during mid release, and this has been an area of continuous investment for us. So let's get started on this area. This is at a very high level what Advanced Work Assignment looks to accomplish. There are different items within the contact center. Some of these items could be interactions like chat, some could be tasks like cases, and there could be other requests. Now, all of these work items are waiting there to be assigned to an agent to work on. In the middle, we have queues, which act as holding tank to take these work items and assign them to the right agents who are organized within their groups. And on the right-hand side, we have agents who are in their groups, each of them have some work in their work bucket and have some spare capacity to take up more work. So what advanced work assignment does is looks at these incoming pieces of work, looks at the attributes on the work. Attributes could be things like what product does this work item relate to, what region is this coming from, or there could be any other condition that you want to define depending on your business needs. Based on these conditions, AWA will route these work items into the appropriate queue. And then once they are in the queue, they are essentially in a holding tank waiting to be assigned. And AWA makes that assignment decision happen based on availability, capacity, and skills. There could be scenarios where your primary group of agents are very busy. They're not able to get to your customers really quickly and attain your service level targets. So in those scenarios, we can bring in a backup group of agents through Overflow to help get to the customer quickly. We can also leverage agent affinity, where looking at the work, we can find affinities towards specific agents and prioritize those agents. We can also look at agent shift, and based on the time left in the agent shift, prioritize specific agents for assignment. So at a high level, this is what advanced work assignment accomplishes. With that, let's talk about the demo. Let's go through the demo. Today, during the demonstration, we will look at 5 key scenarios. We'll start with a basic scenario where we will route a chat based on agent's capacity and availability. As part of this, we will also look at what happens when the agent misses a chat, what happens when the agent rejects the chat, and how do we capture the reason for rejection. Second, we will look at Overflow, where we will bring in a secondary group of agents to help when the primary group is not able to help in a timely fashion. During the third demo, we will look at skill-based routing, where depending upon the skill requirements of the incoming work, we would try to find an agent who has the right skills and address the customer's needs. Our fourth demo is going to be around agent affinity, where we will look at the incoming work item itself, try to find agents who have affinity towards this incoming work item and prioritize those agents. And finally, during the fifth, we will look at shift-based routing. All of my demos today would be based on out-of-the-box settings and minor configurations. So at the end of the presentation today, you all should be able to use this content and try this out on your own instances as well. So with that, let's dive into the demo. For our first scenario, we have our agent, John Jason, who is logged on to the agent workspace. He has made himself available on a bunch of channels, including chat, and he does that using the presence management module on advanced work assignment. This presence management module is completely API accessible, which allows you to easily integrate with telephony systems. So talking about telephony, let's bring up telephony here. And what you see here is on the right-hand side, we have OpenFrame, which is our CTI integration framework. And within the OpenFrame is a soft phone UI that comes from a telephony integration partner. This soft phone integration is integrated with ad hoc assignment through APIs for managing agent presence. What that means is when I change my presence here on the telephony and I make myself away, an API call is made to advanced work assignment, and the presence of the agent is automatically set to away to synchronize it with whatever is there on the telephony. Now, this integration is also bidirectional, where as an agent, you can manage all of your presence from ServiceNow itself, and that could raise an event, send an event to OpenFrame, which could be listened by the telephony and drive the presence on telephony as well. Very important in contact centers where phone is normally a communication channel, and it is important to keep the two routing engines, ServiceNow's advanced work assignment and telephony's phone routing system, to be in sync. Now, with that, let's go to the customer's view. So here's a customer, George Warren. the customer has recently bought a product and is having an issue with the product. So the customer is trying to reach out for support. Now, he does that by initiating a chat. And this conversation is front-ended by a virtual agent. Now, for the purpose of this demo, I'm going to bypass virtual agent and get directly to a live agent. And I'll do that by clicking on this. So at this point, the conversation is getting routed to an agent. Let's go to our agent one. We also have one more agent in our contact center, agent two. Since both of them available and they had equal availability, the routing agent chose to route it to agent two. For the purpose of this demo, I'm going to reject this chat and say I'm busy. And when the agent two does this, that reason is logged in the database. So if agent two is rejecting a lot of these chats, the supervisor can look at it and then have a conversation with the agent. Now, at this point, what happened is the chat went back into the queue, tried to find the next best available agent, and we see that it got routed to agent one. We have some information about the chat itself. We see the account and contact information on the chat. And upon acceptance, the chat panel shows up on the agent's UI. As an agent, I can respond back to this using quick responses. What you would also notice is this chat is backed up by an interaction record. Interaction is a key record in ServiceNow. It represents any conversation on ServiceNow, irrespective of the channel. So you might be having a conversation over chat, or it could be over phone, or over SMS or WhatsApp. Every one of those conversations are modeled as interaction. Now, by having a single interaction model or data model, we are able to drive consistent experience for agents across all these channels. Even from a reporting perspective, this drives consistent experience for supervisors and executors because they don't have to go to 10 different objects to get their reports. Interaction is that single place to go. Now, coming back to the experience itself, interaction has some pretty interesting items on it. There is Customer Central, which comes with two key tabs, Customer Information and Customer Activity. The Customer Information tab shows some more details about the customer, like their contact details, some escalated cases that may have been filed, other conversations that they may be having. And Customer Activity tab shows some of the recent knowledge article views, their portal activity, work orders, cases, interactions, etc. So this gives you a holistic view of what the customer has been doing and your relationship with the customer. Again, both these tabs are completely customizable. So depending upon your business needs and your unique business area, you can define these tiles and have those tiles surface on the Customer Information tab. Search on the right-hand side is contextual, which can help you drive knowledge articles, surfacing knowledge articles, looking at past cases, similar cases, etc. And this experience, because it's all centralized on interaction management, is not applicable only for chat. It is applicable for all channels. So if you have a phone agent, the phone agent will also see similar experiences on a phone call. So what you just saw in this demo was we had a customer who initiated a chat from the portal. We had a simple routing rule there for routing this chat into the right queue. It got routed into the customer service chat queue. And at the time of assignment, we looked at availability and capacity. We had two agents in our primary group, and we chose one of those agents to make the assignment. Now, let's talk about how to configure this. You can do that using 4 simple steps. Number 1 is what to route. This is where you will define your service channel. Second is way to route, which is where you will define the queue. Thirdly, we will do assignment. We will define our assignment strategy. And finally, we will also set some key aspects that drive the agent experience. Now, under each of those 4 buckets, we have a few items that we will take care of. As part of the first topic, which is defining the service channel, we'll configure the object that needs to be routed. Second is defining the queue, which is where we will tie the queue to a specific service channel. We will also define the routing rule under which a work item gets into this queue. We'll also define the sorting order. Sorting order is an interesting concept on the queue. Typically, when you look at a queue, you think of queue as a first in, first out mechanism. Whereas at ServiceNow, our philosophy is it doesn't have to be just first in, first out. You can sort items based on any attribute of the item itself. Example here is you can sort it based on customer status. So if your VIP customer comes into the queue, even much later in the time, because there's a VIP customer, you can automatically bump this customer up to the front of the queue. The third part is assignment strategy, where we will choose one of the 2 available algorithms, most capacity or last assign. We will also optionally enable auto assignment. And finally, we will look at the inbox card layout and the agent presence states. So let's look at these configurations. For this, I'm going to go to the admin view and navigate to service channels. Now, chat service channel is what we were looking at as part of this demo. So let's get into that service channel. What you see on the top of the screen are some basic information about the service channel. We also have the table that the service channel relates to. Chat is an interaction, so this service channel is tied to the interaction table. Now, based on the table selection itself, we automatically populate the assigned to and assignment group aspects of this channel. And we also have additional condition where type is chat. What this means is any record in the interaction table with type as chat qualifies for the chat service channel. You can optionally also select inbox alert and message alert audio that will be played when a chat comes into the agent's inbox or a message in the chat comes to the agent. Going further down in the configuration, we have default work item sizing. This determines the size of each chat. What one means here is every chat is of unit 1. The default capacity is the number of chats an agent can handle simultaneously. So this configuration states that each chat is of 1 unit and each agent by default can handle up to 3 chats. Now, of course, not every agent within your contact center is going to be equally skilled. You will have a few newbies who may be able to serve less number of chats. You may have few experts who can handle more chats. And you can do that override in this part of the UI. You can individually select agents and override their capacity at an individual level. Coming to the utilization condition, this determines the criteria under which a chat counts towards agent's capacity. As you see in this configuration, we've said state is not one of closed complete or closed abandoned. With this, what would happen is when a chat moves from work in progress to closed complete, which is where the chat is getting ended, the agent's capacity would be freed up and the agent would be available to take up the next chat. Moving to other sections of the configuration, we also have inbox layout. This is what determines what the agent sees on the card when the chat is routed to the agent's inbox. The contact chat layout is what we were using in our demo, and this has a very simple condition. The condition here was contact is not empty, and when that condition was met, we showed the short description, contact, and account for the customer. Now, We saw that in our chat, every chat is of unit 1, but depending upon the complexity, you may want to override that as well. This is very relevant for cases as well. So not every case is going to be of same size or same complexity. So based on examples like is this an escalated customer? Is this a critical issue? And based on these attributes on the work item itself, you can override the size. This helps in adjusting the utilization of the agent correctly. So let's assume that an agent has capacity for taking up 5 cases. It could mean 5 simple cases, all of size 1. Or if you have complex cases of size 2, it could mean 2 complex cases and 1 simple case. So depending upon the size of individual cases, the agent's utilization will be adjusted accordingly. The second part of our configuration is queue configuration. So let's go to the queue. Now, the customer service chat queue is what we were looking at in our demo. The upper part of the configuration here is basic details about the queue. This queue is tied to the chat service channel. And this is where you would define your condition under which a work item would be routed into this queue. The condition can be simple, in which case you would have a condition builder to define the condition, or it could be advanced where you would have access to a script block using which you can script your condition. We had a very simple condition here. Scrolling further down is you would see assignment eligibility. Please ignore the second entry here for a few minutes. We will come back to it when we cover overflow. Let's look at the first entry here. What this entry states is when a chat is available on this queue at 0 seconds, this group, the customer service support group, is eligible to receive work. And the assignment happens using this assignment rule. So the moment a chat comes into this queue, at that very instance, any agent within the customer service support group would be eligible to receive this chat, and the assignment would happen through this. We'll look at the assignment rule in a second when we go to step 3 of the configuration. Let's look at other parts of the configuration in the meantime. Work item sort order is where you will define the sorting of items within this queue. Like I mentioned, it doesn't have to be just first in, first out. In this case, we're sorting based on customer status and the timestamp. You can add any number of attributes here and order them. Think of them as simple Excel sort. The third tab here is post-chat survey. So you can optionally have surveys, and when a chat coming through this queue ends, the customer would be offered a survey that is configured here in this section. We'll come to agent affinity in a few minutes later. So we covered step 2 in our configuration. Let's go to step 3, which is our assignment rule. So coming back to our assignment eligibility, the middle section is where we have our assignment rule. And this is what the assignment rule looks like. The first thing we would do in the assignment rule is choose our assignment algorithm, which is either last assign, essentially round robin, or most capacity, which routes work to the agent who has the most spare capacity. About other configurations, let's look at rejection handling first. During the demo, we saw that the agent had the option to either accept or reject the chat. If you don't want the agents to have an option to reject at all, you can do so by unchecking this. This will make sure that the reject button doesn't even show up for the agent. We also saw that the agent had about 30 seconds to accept that chat, and that is driven through this part of the configuration. If you uncheck it, a timer will not be enforced. We normally see that for real-time channels like chat, you would have a timeout, whereas for long-running tasks like cases, you may not want to configure a timeout, or you may want to have a longer timeout. Optionally, you can also set agent's presence when the timeout occurs. Example, if you have an agent who is may be distracted or maybe has gone on a break and forgotten to change his status accordingly, you can set the presence automatically here. So at that point, what will happen is when the chat times out, the agent's presence would automatically be set to away, and that way no new chats would come to the agent's inbox. Going to the auto assignment handling. Now, we saw that the agent had accept and reject option. We talked about how reject option can be disabled, but what if you want to not have the accept option also? What if you want to just auto assign? You can make that happen by checking this setting. That also brings up two additional options for you around display. The display can be inbox card only, in which case the work item would be assigned to the agent, but an inbox card will show up with an open button. The second option is inbox card and workspace tab. And with that, when the assignment happens, there would be a card in the inbox with an open button, but we would also automatically open the relevant tab on workspace in background. So consider chat. A new chat comes in and the auto assignment is enabled. The new chat will automatically screen pop on the agent's workspace. We will cover skill handling and shift handling in a few seconds. So that covers section 3 of our configuration. Now let's go to section 4. We already talked about inbox card layout. Let's talk about present states. Present states are broadly categorized under two key areas: a state that helps you assign work, a state that helps you not assign work. The former criteria is where available comes into picture. The latter criteria is where break, away, offline, etc. comes into picture. You can have any number of present states and also assign these present states to the right agent in their group. Now, when you come to this configuration, you can select one or more service channels that are relevant to this present state. The show channel checkbox also enables the agent to manage their presence granularly on each of these individual channels. So that concludes my first demo. Now with that, let's go to our second demo, which is around Overflow. Overflow is a scenario where your primary group of agents may be very busy because of a spike in incoming requests, and they are not able to address the customer's request in a timely fashion. When you're not able to attain your target service levels, you may want to automatically bring in a secondary group of agents to help out. And that is automated through Overflow. So let's look at a demo for that. Now for the Overflow, in addition to my agent 1, let's end our chat here that the agent 1 was working on. And agent 2, I also have agent 3. The agent 3 is also available, and this agent is part of the secondary group. So we'll again go back to the customer's view. We will start a new chat. And at this point, again, based on our previous configuration, the chat will be routed to one of the agents in our primary group. Could be agent 1, could be agent 2. So it goes to agent 2. As part of the scenario, we're trying to simulate where both the agents are very busy. In order to do that, I'm going to reject this chat and say I'm very busy. This makes the chat go to agent 1. And we will do something similar here also. We will reject this chat. And at this point, the chat is back into the queue. Since both the agents in primary group are busy, the chat is still sitting there. But at 45 seconds, which is what we have configured for Overflow, we will automatically bring in the secondary group into picture. Agent 3 is part of the secondary group, and she should receive this chat at the 45 seconds time. We're just going through the countdown of that 45 seconds. We should have that chat any moment, and there we go. So the chat goes to agent 3, who is part of the secondary group. Agent 3 receives the chat and has a conversation with the customer. So what we saw here was exactly like before. We had the customer initiate a conversation from the portal. The chat was routed into the customer service chat queue as before. We tried to assign it based on availability and capacity. But at the time of assignment, we realized that both the agents are busy. They're working on their full capacity. So the chat waited in the queue for 45 seconds. And at the 45 seconds mark, we expanded the pool of agents to include a backup group. And at this point, every agent within the larger, primary group and the secondary group is eligible to receive this chat. So in this example, we just introduced one group at 45 seconds. It doesn't have to be limited to one group. You can add as many groups as you want. It also doesn't have to be just one level of overflow. You can have as many levels as you want. Meaning we had one at 45 seconds. You could wait till 1 minute and you can add one more group and so on and so forth. So by doing that, you're expanding your pool of agents who are becoming eligible to take up this chat, and thereby you're improving the probability of getting to this customer quickly. This is a highly differentiated feature and very unique to how we handle overflow. What you might have noticed here is we are not creating a new queue for handling overflow. The chat still remains in the same queue and then gets routed to the agent based on their availability. This is very different from what a lot of our competitors do. A lot of our competitors force you to create a new overflow queue for handling overflow. There are two key problems there. Number one, you have a proliferation of queues, too many queues to manage. Second, your queue statistics are not pristine anymore because this chat has spent 2 minutes before getting to an agent and not just the 15 seconds that it has spent in the latest queue. By keeping the chat in the same queue, we are doing, number one, reducing the number of queues you need, thereby simplifying the management of the queues. And number two, the queue statistics also remain pristine. Now, in terms of configuration, this would be done at the queue level. So let's go back to the admin screen. Let's go back to the queue. We have the customer service chat queue. And if you scroll down, this is where we had configured our overflow. So at 45 seconds mark, we brought in a backup group, and which means at 45 seconds, both our primary group and the backup group were eligible to receive work from this queue. Like I mentioned, it doesn't have to be just one group. You can add as many groups as you want. It also doesn't have to be one level. You can add as many levels of overflow as you want. So that concludes the second demo. Let's go to our third demo, which is skill-based routing. Now, there could be scenarios where, depending upon the attributes of the work item itself, depending upon the customer profile, you may want to, you may have specific skill requirements to serve this piece of work. Now, under those conditions, you will need the right agents with the right skills to take up those work, which is what skill-based routing addresses. So for this part of the demo, I will go to another customer. We have Michelle, who is our second customer. She is based out of Spain, and Spanish is her preferred language. And we know that because that information is in her profile. So when she initiates a chat, we automatically add Spanish as a required skill to any chat coming from Michelle. Now, in the agent profile, again, we have both of our agents in the primary group, agent 1 and agent 2. Our agent 1 has Spanish in his skill profile. Agent 2 does not. So for the time being, I'm going to let agent 1 go on break. And the expectation here would be when Michelle initiates a chat, the chat would remain in the queue because agent 2 doesn't have the right skill. But the moment agent 1 comes back, the chat should get routed to agent 1. So let's go back to Michelle and we will start a new chat here. Again, I'll bypass virtual agent and try to get to a live agent. Let's go to agent 2. And exactly as we expected, though agent 2 is available, it didn't get routed to agent 2 because the agent doesn't have the right skill. Let's go back to agent 1 and bring him back. Now at this point, the moment the agent becomes available, the chat is offered to this agent because this agent has the right skill set. And the agent goes ahead and accepts this chat. So what you just saw was we had a Spanish customer who initiated the chat. In addition to the regular attribute, we also added a skill requirement. Spanish was a mandatory skill on this chat. We routed into the same queue. We didn't create a separate queue for our Spanish customers. And at the time of assignment, in addition to availability and capacity, we also looked at skill. We saw that we had 2 agents in our group. The second agent had Spanish in his skill profile, and we went ahead and made that assignment to that second agent, even though that agent may have had more work on their bucket than the other agent. This is again very different from what you will see from a lot of our competitors. Our skill-based routing is completely declarative in nature. A lot of our competitors do make you choose between skill-based routing or queue-based routing. We believe that queues are extremely important in the overall framework of routing. It is extremely valuable for our customers. So we don't force our customers to make that difficult choice. Secondly, a lot of our competitors also force you to create a separate queue for each skill combination. Now think of a scenario where you may have multiple skills. There may be language skills, there may be product-related skills, there may be skills related to escalated customers. When you define queues for each of those combinations, you have a large number of queues which are very difficult to manage. So unlike all of those, we make it very simple here. The queues and the skill-based routing is completely declarative, and you don't have to create additional queues for handling skills. The same framework can be used for sentiment-based routing also. Sentiment is an attribute on the interaction. If based on the initial conversation with the virtual agent, if we realize that the sentiment is going negative, we could use that indicator to add additional skills to the chat. Now, in this scenario, we could add Customer Ninja as a required skill. And at the time of assignment, we could find an agent who has the right skill for making this assignment. In terms of configuration, let's go back to the admin view. Let's go back to the assignment rule. The skill handling is where we would enable skill-based routing. So by enabling the first checkbox, you could enable skill-based routing. And if you have mandatory skills and you want those mandatory skills to be enforced, you could check this checkbox and that will enforce mandatory skills. The combination of overflow and skill-based routing is extremely powerful. When you make the assignment through the assignment eligibility, you can select your assignment rule at the individual entry level. Meaning, let's say for first 45 seconds, you want to make sure that you have the agent with the right skills. But then if 45 seconds have passed, you may want to relax your skill requirements and find an agent quickly. You could make that happen by relaxing your skill requirements and having a different assignment rule in your overflow. So very, very powerful. In the interest of time, I will walk through the fourth and fifth demo. We will not get into the instance. I'll walk you through the configuration. Agent affinity is where you want to look at the work item itself and try to find affinity between the agent and the incoming work. We offer 3 flavors of affinity. One is the history-based affinity, where you can look at the history of serving the customer, look at the agent base, find the agent who has served the customer most in the recent past and prioritize that agent. Second is related task-based affinity, where if you know that a given chat is in context of a case, maybe the best agent to take up this chat is the agent who's working on the case. So you can prioritize that specific agent over other agents for assignment. The third flavor of affinity is account team responsibility, where if you have a named account personnel for a high value account, you can prioritize that agent over any other agent for making the assignment. Now, in order to configure that, it's a 2-step process. Let's go back to the admin screen. Under advanced work assignment, you will see affinity rules. It just seems to be running a little slow. Let's go through the experience and then we'll come back to the configuration. So what you will see under affinity is we would route the work item into the same queue. We know that this chat is in context of this specific case. So at the time of assignment, we can look at the related case on this interaction. In our agent pool, we see that we have an agent who is currently working on that case, and using related task-based affinity, we can assign it to the specific agent. Second flavor is account team responsibility-based affinity. So in this case, if the first agent is not available, we can look for the named account personnel for this high value account and prioritize that agent for taking up this chat. The third flavor is historical affinity. So we may have an agent in our pool who has served this customer multiple times over the last 7 days or 15 days or 30 days, and we can prioritize such an agent. All of these affinity rules can be used individually or in combination to drive customer satisfaction, quick responses. So coming back to the affinity rules have 3 flavors. So the first thing you would do is configure your affinity rules. It could be based on account team responsibility, where you choose the responsibility, or history, where you choose how back in time do you want to go, or related task, in which case there's no much setting to do. Now, once you configure your affinity rules, you can go to your queue and under the agent affinity section, add these affinity rules. You can use them in combination, so that way, depending upon which of those 3 personnels are available, you can prioritize them. Fifth scenario is shift-based routing, where in addition to the regular working, you can also look at the agent's shift, look at how much time is left in their shift, and prioritize the agent based on your need. So in this scenario, we see that the 5th agent has the most time left in his or her shift, and we can prioritize that agent over other agents. Now, in terms of configuration, this configuration lies on the assignment rule. let's go to the assignment tool, and you will see a section called shift handling. By checking this checkbox, you would enable shift handling. You can have the agent sorted based on least time left in shift or most time. If you want to add additional constraints, like you want the agent to at least have 30 minutes for him or her to even be considered for assignment, you can specify that. And you can also specify if the demanded time should be in one continuous chunk or can it be distributed across the entire day. This does require enterprise queue and access to ServiceNow's workforce optimization solution. So at a high level, these are all the different capabilities that AWA enables. We have a lot of high value, highly differentiated patent capabilities that drive customer satisfaction, improve CSAT, and improve agents utilization. We covered a lot of these during the demo. The supervisor experience is something that we didn't cover, but I would highly recommend looking at some of our earlier webinars on workforce optimization solution to learn more about this topic. With that, let's talk about some best practices. When you're defining your queues and your assignment strategy, our recommendation is to start thinking about your reporting needs and your support strategy, and that will inform your queuing and assignment strategy. There are a lot of different patterns that we've seen in our customer base. One of those patterns is geo-based support. This is typically relevant to customers who have products which require similar skills from a support perspective. Example here are companies in logistics, companies in media streaming, etc. Now, for those customers or those scenarios, our recommendation is create your queues based on your region. Of course, you're going to have regions where you have multiple languages, and for those multilingual regions, model your language requirements as skills, add those skills to the right incoming work item, assign those skills to the agent, and have your agents in the groups along those geographical lines. You can also have product skills wherever product skills is required. As you can see in the illustration below, on the left-hand side, you have chats. Some of them have language skill requirements, some of them have product skill requirements also, and they're getting routed into the right geographical queue and getting assigned to the agent while keeping the skills in mind. Second pattern is product-based support. This is typically relevant for companies which have complex range of products. Each product requires specific skills. So there, our recommendation is please create your queues based on these product areas and leverage language skills wherever it is required. Now, there could be product areas where expertise is interchangeable. Now, in the scenario of the illustration below, you can see that consumer electronics chat may be handled by appliance chat group as well. So you can use Overflow in those scenarios where appliance chat group can come in and help out consumer electronics chat group if they are not able to meet their service levels. Now, you may also, because geo is not being considered, you're not having geographical queues here, you may also want to look at shift-based assignment to find an agent in availability in the nearest geo or where the shift is having an overlap with the customer's time. A third pattern here is customer tier-based support, which is where you may have tier-based queues. You have a tier for your platinum customers, diamond customers, and gold customers. Now, in this case, because your platinum customers are most important and you want to get to them quickly, you can have two levels of overflow. Diamond group is the first overflow, while the gold group is the second overflow. Your diamond customers may be your second most important, in which case you will have, of course, the diamond group being the primary group, but the gold group can serve as the overflow group. Again, depending upon your need, you may want to consider shift-based assignment as well to find an agent with the shift matching your customer's needs. Now, in terms of channels, yes, it is super important to have a basket of channels, large number of channels. You want to meet your customers where they are on their most preferred channel. But it is also very important to deliver consistent experience across all those channels. So our recommendation is start simple, start with a few channels, absolutely master them, and then gradually expand your portfolio of channels to deliver that same consistent experience on these newer channels that you have been delivering on the previous channels too. In terms of service channels, when you're defining them, please keep interchangeability of work in mind. For example, if you're an insurance company, you may have different types of cases like claims cases or dispute cases. If the same agent can work on both the type of cases, you may want to model them as one single case service channel. Whereas if there are two different agents, you may want to model them as different service channels. Messaging channels, you may want to combine them in one single service channel because the same agent might be able to serve on WhatsApp or Line or Facebook Messenger. The skills are fairly interchangeable across those channels. Asynchronous interactions are the way to go, but when you're embarking upon this journey, please evaluate your agent training, your reporting needs. Reporting is fundamentally different for the asynchronous conversations. Also think about geo, what channels do you want to support in each geo. Managing agents, manage their capacity based on their expertise, their role, their skills, etc. Wherever it makes sense, please do auto assignment. You can also use universal capacity management for your blended agents when handling more than one channel at a given point of time. Universal capacity enables you to split their capacity across multiple channels and have just one bucket across all those channels. If certain items are complex in nature, use work sizing for sizing those work accordingly and managing the agent's utilization accordingly. Absolutely enable CTI integration. This is important when you have two different routing engines in play, the phone routing engine and ServiceNow routing engine. Workforce optimization is an important capability, and you can manage a lot of agents monitoring and coaching, etc., using this product. Talking about CTI, we talked about two different routing engines, and they need to be in sync. And you can make that happen using AWS Presence APIs and the events that AWS emits, which can be used by CTI for driving presence on telephony. In order to make that happen, we offer 5 events with these payloads, and these could be used for driving this integration in a seamless fashion. So a lot of great content, important resources. We have additional resources for you. You can look at our documentation site. We also have a white paper on AWA implementation. Our YouTube channel has a ton of videos which can also help you get started and help you learn more about other adjacent product capabilities. With that, we come to the end of our presentation. Thank you for participating. Thank you for being with us and spending this time with us. If you have any additional questions, please post those on our community page. We will answer those there on the community page. Thank you very much.
And thank you everyone for staying on all the way through. We would like to hear your feedback on what we can do better next time in the survey. I also want to really thank Prithvi. Prithvi was one of the architects of this feature. And as you can see, we've got patented technology and differentiated features. And please come back to this and try this in your own test site. He's got all the steps there for you. You can replay them in the video. And our goal here, we noticed that most people are using the manual process. Our goal here is for you to use the functionality and take advantage and relieve some of these bottlenecks for your customers. And this advanced work assignment will be something that your organization and customers will benefit from. So with that, please take the survey. Thank you everyone for joining today, and please catch the replay.